Hello besties, back at it again on my channel. So today we need to discuss what has been going on between Meri Brown and Christine Woolley, because man, the drama just won't subside. Whenever it looks like things would die down, something else emerges, and we get the feeling that Meri just can't let Christine live in peace in her life after Kody. Before we get to the latest drama that is having fans in a tizzy, I must say something that has been bothering me. There is all this trend of channels releasing videos regarding secret meetings between Christine and Meri, or alleging that TLC made them shoot a pretend reunion. Guys, that is simply not true. There is no behind the scenes legal dispute, there is no secret reunion, and there is certainly no contract dispute between them at present. What is actually happening is a lot more mundane and a lot meaner. Anything, though, to the central plot. The most recent Sister Wives episode, or more accurately, people's reactions after it was on, have brought this entire Meri versus Christine narrative back to life. In a recent live stream, Meri posted something that fans considered a direct shot at Christine. She didn't mention her name directly, but when she began venting about individuals who remake history to appear like a victim, it was as plain as day whom she was referring to. And of course, fans picked up on it immediately. Reddit posts exploded, TikTok videos were retweeted across the platform, and everybody's saying the same thing. Meri just can't let go. Even folks who once came to her defense are now like, "Girl, you got out too. Let Christine be joyful." What is strange is that Meri appears mired in this cycle. Each time Christine does something good, starts a business, posts a picture with David, or shares a moment with her children, Meri finds herself discussing authenticity or people being insincere. It is as if she can't help but remind everyone that she believes Christine was part of the issue. But let's get real. This isn't about Christine. This is years of anger finally coming to the surface. Meri has been the Brown family's scapegoat for so long, and now that everyone's moved on, she is attempting to get her voice back, but it always comes out in bitterness. And here is the thing that fans can't agree on: is she venting, or is she actually jealous? Because Christine's living her best life right now, new husband, new house, new glow, and Meri's still defending herself in interviews like it's 2016 all over again. We're going to unpack all of that, plus what Christine said in response, because yes, she did respond, and it was subtle but brutal. Let's get into what really set Meri off this time. It all began after Christine posted a video on healing from toxic people and going forward with grace. Completely innocuous, right? But if you've been watching this show for a while, you understand how coded that vocabulary is. Toxic people in the world of Sister Wives pretty much always means someone who remains part of that family sphere. Fans picked up on the fact that Christine's tone was breezy, peaceful, and cheerful, but the message was stinging. She talked about letting go of bitterness, not needing to defend yourself anymore, and how peace feels better than revenge. That video hit 1 million views in just a couple of days, and guess who started posting right after? Yep, Meri now. Meri's post wasn't a direct reply, but it was definitely timed too perfectly to be random. She wrote something like, "It's interesting how some people love to preach peace but can't stop talking about the past." That line had everyone in the comments saying, "Oh, she's talking about Christine again." And honestly, it's hard to argue otherwise. Here's the thing though, Meri's still carrying around so much old pain that anything Christine says about freedom or healing probably feels like a jab. And while Christine has clearly moved on, Meri's still living in that emotional loop, the one where she's trying to rewrite her own story as the misunderstood one, not the villain. The deeper issue. Meri doesn't seem to realize that by constantly reacting, she's proving Christine's point. Friends on Reddit summed it up well. Christine's moving forward while Meri's moving in circles. That has been the cycle for years. Christine establishes a boundary. Meri gets rejected, then doubles down on cryptic statements about loyalty and pretends to be friends. And I understand that Meri's whole self was constructed within that plural marriage framework. When that broke down, she didn't merely lose Kody. She lost the other wives, the community, the routine. Christine found a new life. Janelle created her independence. Even Robin, for all her chaos, still has a family unit. Mary's the one left standing alone. But what's wild is that instead of rebuilding privately, she keeps making these emotional digs that pull her back into the same drama she claims she's over. Like imagine saying, "I've moved on," and then posting 3 stories in a row about people who twist the truth. Girl, if you've moved on, mute the name, not the emotion. And fans aren't blind to that. The comments are riddled with individuals such as, "We wanted to root for Meri, but this incessant shade is draining." Christine never actually said Mary's name. She is too smart for that. But her most recent Q&A on Instagram was the real shade in disguise. One person asked, "Do you still communicate with any of your ex-sister wives?" And Christine smiled and replied, "I stay in touch with the ones who bring peace into my life." That is it. Just that. And honestly, that one sentence cut deeper than a full-blown rant. Fans jumped into comments instantly. That is for Meri. She is done with the drama. Peace over pettiness. It was one of those moments that demonstrated how emotionally far apart they are. Christine's relaxed, glowing, and doesn't even need to defend herself anymore. Meanwhile, Mary's still fighting ghosts from the past. But here's the thing. Mary's not just reacting to Christine. She's reacting to how fans compare them. Every time Christine posts a smiling selfie with David Woolley, people tag Meri and say things like, "See, this is what real love looks like." That's brutal, and I believe a great deal of Mary's frustration isn't actually with Christine so much. It is with the way the audience continues to make Christine the heroine of the sister wives split. Let's be real, when Christine originally broke up with Kody, many viewers were still with Meri. She was framed as the loyal, patient, and faithful one, the one who had suffered so much. But as Christine's life got brighter, Mary's posts got darker. It is like she couldn't bear to see someone else receive the happy ending that she believed she would receive if only she remained. There is also that constant thing where Meri positions herself as misunderstood. She has claimed several times that people don't witness the full story, or that the truth isn't what was edited for television. But then, when she makes jabs on the diss sites, it supports the very picture she despises: bitter, controlling, and trapped. Christine, meanwhile, hardly gets caught up in bad vibes. That is why people adore her. She'll make a quick wisecrack about her history, switch to a conversation about her relatives or cooking, and move on. It is like she has perfected the dance of selective silence. And that juxtaposition is what is sustaining this feud in the minds of fans. It is not what they're saying, it is how differently they comfort themselves. One is level-headed, down to earth, and exudes calm. The other still seems to be fighting invisible battles. I think Mary's biggest challenge isn't Christine. It's the reflection Christine holds up. Every time Christine posts something joyful, it reminds Meri of everything she lost and hasn't been replaced. Let's talk about the fan reaction, because honestly, this is where things have really started to shift. For a long time, people pitied Meri. They viewed her as that isolated woman who became emotionally left behind by Kody, trapped in a marriage in which she was hardly noticed. But recently, that sympathy has begun to wear off. And it is not because fans are necessarily liking Kody anymore. It is because they see a pattern with Meri that is getting thinner and thinner. After her most recent post, you know, the one where she posted people who preach peace but can't stop talking about the past, the comment section went crazy. Many of the fans who used to stand by her were like, "We love you, Meri, but this vibe isn't it." Others claimed, "You claim to be healed, but you sound exactly like Kody now, blaming everyone else except yourself." That is a bitter comparison, but they're not entirely wrong. People are beginning to realize that Mary's motivational posts always double as shade. Like she'll say, "I wish people would take accountability" right after Christine's interview airs, or "Real strength doesn't need to be loud" right after Janelle gives an update about standing up for herself. Fans are connecting the dots, and not in a way that's helping Mary's reputation. And here's something I've noticed too. Meri talks about moving on, but she never really shows us what that looks like. Christine beams. She is constructing a new life. Janelle beams. She is making choices for herself. Even Robin, who is hardly everyone's favorite, at least has a direction. But Meri, she discusses trusting the process without changing the process at all. It is like she is trapped in this emotional echo chamber, speaking all the right things but still fixated on the same people.
the same pain, the same desire to prove herself. And that is what is draining for fans. They've been watching this family for more than a decade. They desire growth. Own Reddit user perfectly encapsulated it. We all cheered for Meri to get peace. But peace does not appear like subtweets and anger.
It appears like releasing it. And that is where the huge irony comes in. Fake Christine did release. She literally walked away, began anew, and appears happier than ever. So whenever Meri is going back to that chapter, it makes her appear to be the one who is stuck reading the same book, while everybody else begins a different one. There's a deeper side to this that isn't discussed nearly enough, and it is image control. Meri has spent years attempting to control how others perceive her. She despises being known as the angry one or the bitter ex. But every time she speaks, she is battling that same narrative rather than reframing it. When Meri lost Kody's attention years back, her entire identity became entwined in how she was perceived. By him, by the family, by the audience. She has been attempting to manipulate that image since then. Recall the catfish scandal. Rather than having it and being done with it, she spent years defining it, justifying it, redefining it. The more she worked to own the story, the more stuck she was in it. Now, let's jump forward to the present. Christine departs, creates a happy new life for herself, and all of a sudden, everybody's talking about her in wonderful terms. The courageous one, the humorous one, the survivor. You can virtually feel how much that change irritates Meri. For so long, she was the sympathetic figure. The one people wept for. Now she is the one whom people judge for not moving on. And the thing is, it is not that Meri's a terrible person. She is a person who has been publicly shamed and ostracized for years. That kind of hurt doesn't just go away because you put up an inspirational quote. But when you broadcast your healing process as performance, it can begin to look more like a branding opportunity than actual growth. She speaks of empowerment, but it happens with that undertone of comparison too. When she responds to posting about real women supporting each other immediately following Christine's cooking show promo release. That is not empowerment, it is shade in a hashtag costume. Fans see it. Fans always see it. One comment that stuck out to me said, Meri's trying to curate a redemption arc while Christine's just living one. And that line pretty much sums it up. Christine doesn't have to prove she's happy. She just is. Meri keeps telling us she's over it, which makes us question if she really is. You can feel that control energy even in her interviews. When TLC cameras record her discussing the family, she is mannered but tight, as if she is selecting each word so nothing will be used against her. But that hyper-editing makes her sound practiced rather than authentic, and people respond to authenticity. That is what Christine hit on and what Meri still can't quite execute. It is actually sad to see, because you can see she wants peace, but she doesn't believe being honest will make people like her. So she does calm instead of finding it. Let's get to the actual turning point, Christine's wedding to David Woolley. This was when the scales fully tipped. When Christine wed, the entire internet went wild. Fans were rejoicing, TLC was hyping specials, and Christine actually seemed happy. She wasn't only smiling on cue, she radiated. After all those years of being in a spiritual marriage where she didn't even exist, she was finally looking liberated. Now, Meri observed it all from the sidelines. She liked some of the posts and left some general comments about wishing happiness for everyone. But the atmosphere, you could sense the tension. It wasn't open jealousy. Meri's too careful for that. But it was there, simmering beneath her words. She started posting things like, healing isn't linear, and not everyone who smiles is at peace. Fans immediately caught on. Comment sections were full of people saying, this is about Christine, or she's shading the wedding. And honestly, the timing made it hard to argue otherwise. Then came the interviews. Meri was questioned on Christine's new wedding. And rather than a polite, I am happy for her, she replied something like, I hope she has really found what she has been seeking. It reads positive on paper, but the tone. It was biting, as though she was saying, good luck, but I'll believe it when I see it. That is when fans began turning against her. Because by this point, Christine had already won the public sympathy. She was the woman who got out, rebuilt her life, and found love. Meri's comments, even the subtle ones, came off as bitter. What's wild is that Meri doesn't see herself as the villain. She sees herself as misunderstood, as someone trying to tell her side. But the problem is, Christine doesn't need to tell hers anymore. She's living it. And here's where the psychology gets interesting. When you've been in a controlling relationship like Meri was with Kody, your sense of power often gets tied to being the loyal one. When someone else leaves and thrives, it threatens that old identity. Suddenly, loyalty looks like weakness. And that's what Meri's been struggling to face. That all those years of staying, of hoping, didn't earn her the peace she thought they would. So when Christine and David post their happy moments, family dinners, road trips, the wedding, Meri's old insecurities rise up. Instead of ignoring it, she reacts through veiled posts or defensive statements. And that's why fans say she'll never move on. Not because she's obsessed with Kody, but because she's still competing with the version of herself that stayed. So, as we've seen, Christine started living her life fully, traveling, posting happy family moments, sharing her home life with David. She's not broadcasting drama, she's broadcasting peace, and the internet eats it up. Fans who were once diehard Meri supporters now openly cheer for Christine. Suddenly, Meri's loyal and patient narrative doesn't stand out as much anymore. Meri seems hyper. Aware of this shift in her recent social media posts, she made comments about people who smile while hiding chaos or pretending peace isn't earned. Obviously, fans immediately interpreted that as a dig at Christine, and honestly, it reads like jealousy mixed with resentment. She is seeing someone she spent years comparing herself to get what she wanted at last, and she is left justifying her own decisions. What is noteworthy here is how Meri does it. She tends to word things in terms of life lessons or observations, but the timing is never accidental. Whenever Christine shares a happy moment, Meri shares an existential quote. Whenever Christine discusses moving on, Meri shares a tale about loyalty and trust. It is not overt, but the pattern is unmistakable. And fans catch on. Twitter threads and Reddit forums are replete with remarks like, Meri posts another cryptic tweet about the past. It is so obvious. Or, she is still going round and round in the same circle. Christine's moved on months ago. Even long-time followers are starting to voice frustration. Now, let's be real. It's human to feel pangs of jealousy when someone else succeeds where you've struggled. But Meri's issue isn't just envy. It's that she keeps making it public. She could choose to step back, focus on herself, rebuild her life quietly. Instead, she engages in a passive-aggressive dance that keeps the audience invested in the drama. And that's why viewers say she'll never move on. Not because she's inherently bitter, but because every public statement seems designed to compete with Christine's happiness. Fans are craving growth, not cryptic shade. Another key point, Meri's commentary often circles back to Kody too. While she is going after Christine indirectly, she is also replaying old resentments with Kody. That combination of old resentment and current insecurity provides a residual underlying tension, and it keeps the cycle going. Now we have to discuss Meri's most recent livestream, because this one was a doozy. If her tweets had been subtle, this was her going in big to speak directly to the audience. And, it didn't really improve her argument calling in during the livestream. Meri began by stating that she wanted to correct misunderstandings and discuss individuals who distort the truth. Naturally, followers immediately made the connection to Christine. Even without calling out names, there was no doubt who she was referring to. She went on for nearly 15 minutes about accountability, authenticity, and how some people claim peace but live in drama. Ouch, that sounds exactly like what we've been discussing, classic Meri energy. What struck fans the most was her tone. Meri tried to balance between calm reflection and assertive criticism, but the result, it came across as defensive. She'd say something like, I've always been living my truth and doing my best, even when people don't see it. And then instantly switched to anecdotes that obviously drew from Christine's posts or interviews. You could feel the inner battle. Half of her wants to come across as mature. The other half can't help but throw a jab. Fans were split. Some had her back saying, she can say what she thinks. Completely reasonable. But a large portion of viewers were like, girl, you're just keeping yourself stuck. There were hundreds of comments, noting that Meri seemed unable to let go, even publicly stating that she had moved on. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Another interesting observation, her livestream wasn't just about Christine. She also referenced Kody multiple times, talking about past conflicts and her role in the family. It accomplished this layering effect. Viewers weren't merely watching her shadow Christine, they were watching a larger trend of rehashing past hurts in public, and that is precisely why fans know she'll never really get over it. Here's the twist. The viewership numbers of the livestream were huge. Thousands watched, but the comment section was dotted with responses ranging from support to backlash. Some said they enjoyed her candor. Others were upset at the ongoing obsession with previous drama. But one thing was certain. Meri's emotional roller coaster was at center stage, and fans couldn't help but see the difference with Christine's peaceful posts. And that is where we make the most important point. Meri is torn between two desires. One, to express her version and claim her story. Two, to actually get on with her life and construct a new one. Right now, she's prioritizing the former, and fans are calling her out for it. Now, let's get into why Meri's attempts at looking mature often backfire, and why viewers are increasingly rooting for Christine instead. During her recent posts and live streams, Meri consistently frames her words as lessons or reflections. She talks about accountability, authenticity, and learning from the past. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the thing. It's all layered with judgment toward Christine, Kody, or the family. That's what makes it feel performative, instead of reflective. Fans noticed the pattern immediately. One Reddit thread said, "Meri's idea of healing is making everyone else feel guilty for moving on." And honestly, that's exactly how it reads. She attempts to position herself as the enlightened one, but by referencing Christine or Kody indirectly, she maintains the audience's attention on conflict and not growth. Compare this to Christine, who does not have to defend herself. She is living peacefully, sharing about her marriage, family, and work. She is naturally attracting followers who want to root for her because her content is real and uplifting. Meri's content, by comparison, is all about explaining her perspective and subtly putting Christine on blast. That's why fans are getting fatigued. Another factor is timing. Each time Christine has something happy to share, a wedding anniversary, a family vacation, or even a funny TikTok, Meri responds with an evasive quote on loyalty, integrity, or people who act like they're peaceful. Audience members are drawing these connections and saying, "Girl, just let it go." And it isn't just the audience. Even seasoned Sister Wives commentators are paying attention. They note that Meri is stuck in the past and Meri is doing well. That dichotomy is what makes Christine appear to be the winner of this emotional battle, and fans are all about watching Meri either change or finally move on. There is the reality. Meri needs closure, but she keeps pursuing it in all the wrong ways. Instead of stepping back and finding personal fulfillment, she keeps trying to control the narrative publicly, and that's exhausting for viewers who just want to see growth, not more drama. Now, it's time to look at the bigger picture, the patterns that have defined Meri's behavior for years, and why fans are convinced she'll never fully move on until she focuses inward. If you've followed Sister Wives for a while, you've seen this before. Whenever an ex-sister wife does something good, Christine with David, Janelle standing up for herself, Robin taking care of family business, Meri responds, usually in a subtle but ongoing way. It is always a combination of reflection and criticism, and it typically includes some lesson about life, loyalty, or integrity. Fans have commented that the pattern is like clockwork. Reddit posts tend to cite examples. Kody's behavior immediately following a Christine update post, betrayal quotes, shared the same week news of Christine's family breaks, or Instagram stories of people who act like everything is okay, following Christine's sharing of a joyful experience. The timing is uncanny, and it feeds the narrative that Meri is still stuck in the past. Another thing to note is that Meri's words often carry this dual purpose. She's trying to assert her perspective, while also nudging fans to see Christine as the one in the wrong. That's why viewers get frustrated. They write, "Meri continues to claim she has moved on, but she is bringing the past into every update. And it makes sense why she does this." Decades of being disenfranchised within the Brown family, disregarded by Kody, frequently chastised by the other wives, and frequently judged by viewers, made her acutely sensitive to her public persona. She craves approval, and social media is her means. but rather than assisting her healing, it reinforces her obsession with Christine and the past. Fans also note that Christine's methodology couldn't be more opposite. She won't defend herself, she won't shade anyone, and she is working on rebuilding her life forward. That is the reason that Christine now looks serene, content, and unbotherable, while Meri looks stuck in the same emotional patterns that have pursued her for decades. The lesson? Until Meri stops obsessing about controlling the story and how she measures up to Christine, the fans think she'll keep on posting cryptic tweets, defensive live streams, and subtly roasting Christine. Such is a circle of endless conversation that doesn't really aid her growth. Now, let's talk about the fan theories, because honestly, this is where it gets really interesting. People online have been dissecting Meri's every post, live stream, and interview, trying to figure out why she hasn't moved on from Christine yet. The most popular theory that Meri's still holding on to a sense of validation she lost when she left Kody. Fans say she is trapped in the philosophy of, if I can't dominate how the world perceives me, I will dominate how I respond to Christine. And that is why each happy tweet from Christine provokes a reaction from Meri. It is not Christine whatsoever. It is Meri judging herself. A second theory is that Meri has unfinished business. Despite being outside the plural marriage, she is still working to establish herself in contrast with Christine and the other wives. Fans claim this is the reason her messages frequently come across as passive, aggressive. She is attempting to establish that she is better than them morally, that she suffered more, and that her opinion counts. Some even claim that social media itself is a trap for Meri. She has a platform and a fan base that still cares about her, which makes it hard for her to disengage. Every time she posts, it reignites discussion, draws attention, and feeds the cycle. So even if she wanted to move on, the constant online spotlight keeps pulling her back. And, let's be honest, we've all seen the comment section blow up. Fans are split. Some support her, saying, she's allowed to express herself, while others say, girl, you're obsessing too much over Christine's life. That mixed reaction might also encourage her to continue posting cryptic statements. After all, engagement equals relevance. Finally, there's the emotional side. Meri spent years being overlooked, criticized, and in many ways isolated within her own family. That kind of lingering resentment doesn't disappear overnight. It is not about Christine. It is about decades of being in a place where her voice wasn't being heard. So when she puts out shade or veiled criticism, she is not necessarily speaking specifically about Christine. She is working through years of pain, loss, and identity crisis. The issue is, everyone views it as petty or retrograde, which keeps perpetuating the myth that she'll never get over it. Let's deconstruct the psychology of this constant cat and mouse game between Meri and Christine, because there is more at work here than merely social media updates and ambiguous quotes. Dumping a plural marriage like Meri did isn't merely about dumping a partner. It is about remaking your entire sense of self. For years, Meri's life was structured around Kody, the family, and the dynamics with the other wives. That routine created a sense of stability. Even if it was toxic at times when that structure disappeared, she had to rebuild herself from scratch. Christine, on the other hand, seems to have done that successfully. She carved out a life where she could thrive independently and pursue happiness without constantly looking back. Fans love that because it's relatable. Christine demonstrates resilience, forward motion, and authenticity. Meri's challenge is that she hasn't fully disentangled her identity from the past. Every post that indirectly references Christine, every live discussion about loyalty or authenticity reflects a lingering attachment to her old role. She's still negotiating with a version of her life that no longer exists, and that's why fans say she'll never move on. It is not about Christine. It is about Meri fighting back to regain control over her life and, at the same time, work through years of emotional enmeshment until she fully owns her own growth. Independent of comparison to Christine or family judgment, the public will keep viewing her as stagnant. Another important point, fans see when Meri puts herself forward as the voice of truth or the wise one. She might feel that she is empowering herself with these declarations, but fans view them as defensive. It reaffirms that she is comparing herself to others rather than forging ahead on her own. It is also noteworthy to observe the emotional subtext in her posts. Meri often returns to the emotions of betrayal, being neglected or ignored. That layering of emotions keeps her anchored to the past even as she attempts to present herself as healed. Fans are drawn to the drama, yes, but they're also longing for genuine resolution, which Meri hasn't provided publicly. Now, let's dig into Meri's recent social media interactions and why they continue to reinforce the idea that she'll never fully move on. Over the past few months, Meri's posts have followed a very noticeable pattern. She posts introspective quotes, makes mysterious stories, and responds to other family news, all without ever going head. Sounds subtle, huh? But fans are not. They catch the timing, the tone, and the context the minute they see it. Each subtle mention of Christine or Kody gets torn apart by forums, Reddit discussions, and comment boards. For instance, following Christine's straightforward family post, Meri shared a quote concerning individuals who put on a front and pretend that everything is okay when they're not. Fans immediately inferred this was a mention of Christine, and the post went viral among her fanbase. This is precisely the cycle that drives the "she'll never move on" narrative. What is fascinating in this instance is how Meri responds to fan criticism. If fans call her out for writing ambiguous posts, she tends to double down, writing more stories about authenticity, truth, or boundaries. The more she attempts to explain herself or defend herself, the more proof there is of continued attachment to previous conflicts. And it is not even about the posts themselves. It is the timing and context. Every reflection appears strategically posted after Christine or other family members post life updates. It is subtle, but viewers perceive it as reactive instead of proactive. Fans are interpreting this behavior as an inability to let go, which continues to fuel discussion and debate online. Another point worth noting is how Meri's engagement style affects perception. She frequently interacts with fans who defend her, which creates an echo chamber. This reinforces her focus on comparison and validation rather than self-growth. It is as if she is trapped in a loop: respond to Christine, get feedback from fans, post again, do it all over. So although Meri might feel she is speaking her mind or upholding her truth, the public witnesses a repetitive cycle, one that holds her fast to old conflicts, rather than inviting new chapters. Fans recognize this, and that's why the "she'll never move on" comment keeps surfacing. So here's the reality. Meri's struggle isn't just about Christine. It's about years of emotional entanglement, identity tied to a plural marriage, and the lingering need to be seen and validated. Fans understand this, which is why some are sympathetic. But there's a breaking point. When over and over again repetition posts, mysterious quotes, and veiled criticisms drive her content, it begins to resemble less healing and more dwelling on past things. Christine's strategy is the antithesis that fans continually mention. She departed, recreated her life, found joy, and does not glance back. That is why she is hailed as the winner. In many viewers' eyes, her peace and authenticity are magnetic, and it highlights Meri's ongoing struggle. So what could help Meri truly move on? Honestly, it would mean focusing inward instead of outward, letting go of comparisons, resisting the urge to address every perceived slight, and finding fulfillment in her own journey. Fans want to see her embrace independence, pursue passions, and share joy that isn't tied to past conflicts. That is what actual growth is like. Along the way, the "she'll never move on" story isn't going anywhere. Fans will keep analyzing each post and live stream, hoping to get hints about whether Meri has actually healed or is merely repackaging old pain in new form. Finally, all of this isn't merely entertainment. It is a human emotion, attachment, and case study in living highly scrutinized life. Meri's path is certainly not done, and everyone is watching each step, hoping that she will eventually get some peace without having to take Christine with her on this ride. So besties, what is your take? Is Meri ever going to get over it? Or is the cycle simply a part of her life forever? Leave your comments below. Give that like if you hung in there for this breakdown. And don't forget to subscribe so you always get the most recent Sister Wives news. Thanks for watching, besties. See you in the next video.